Hello, my name is Leanna Tauke, and I am an undergraduate student at the University of Kansas. The title of my project is The Relationship Between Infants' Emerging Preverbal Communication and Social-Emotional Competence. Social-emotional competence is essential for connecting with others and is defined as one's ability to regulate their behavior, communicate their feelings, and interact in a positive way with a social partner. The foundations for these skills emerge as early as 6 months of age, alongside the emergence of preverbal communication. Evidence supports that preverbal communication, such as non-word vocalizations, eye contact, and gestures, predict later language and social developmental outcomes, and is therefore foundational to the emergence of social-emotional competence. Social-emotional competence has a predictive relationship with later personal, professional, and academic success. Therefore, it is essential to study this relationship as it has an incredible influence on later outcomes. To date, most research on social-emotional development and communication has focused on school-aged children. The purpose of this project is to study younger populations as social-emotional competence skills begin emerging during the first 2 years of life. To address this gap, I sampled data from 63 infants who were recruited to participate in a larger study, and I asked the following questions. 1. Is there an association at 18 months of age between preverbal communication and social-emotional competence? And 2. After controlling for cognitive development, which is known to affect both preverbal communication and social-emotional competence separately, to what degree are the two related? It was hypothesized that a child with higher levels of social-emotional competence would also display more frequent preverbal communication as they are able to understand the social component behind it, and that after controlling for cognition, social-emotional competence would account for a significant portion of the variance in preverbal communication. Preverbal communication was measured using the Early Social Communication Scales, or the ESCS, which is a semi-structured play interaction that used a series of toys and tasks to elicit preverbal communication. These preverbal communication behaviors were then coded offline as either initiative or responsive forms of joint attention, behavioral requests, or social interaction. Joint attention is a behavior in which two people focus on an object or event for the purpose of interacting with each other, such as when a child shifts their gaze between an object and a social partner as an act of communicating, "Do you see what I see?" Behavioral requests are less socially motivated and are used to make a need or want known, such as when a child extends their arms towards an out-of-reach object to communicate, "I want that." And social interaction behaviors function to elicit or maintain play, such as when a child is rolling a ball back and forth in a turn-taking game. Social-emotional competence was measured using the Infant-Toddler Social-Emotional Assessment, or the ITSE, which is a parent report questionnaire that assesses a child's performance on 139 items, including bossiness, temper tantrums, how affectionate the child is with strangers, does the child experience anxiety, etc. There are 4 behavior domains on the ITSE, 3 of which measure problem behaviors. These are the externalizing domain, which measures activity, impulsivity, aggression, the internalizing domain, which measures a child's depression, anxiety, separation distress, and the dysregulation domain, which assesses problem behaviors in the realm of sleeping and eating. The 4th and final domain on the ITSE is the competence domain, which assesses a child's compliance, ability to pay attention, and their peer relations. Altogether, these 4 domains yield a summary social-emotional competence score by compiling the scores within each. To answer my first research question, the data from the 18-month ESCS and 18-month ITSE assessments were coded and extracted by myself and other trained observers with an inter-rater reliability of 94%. This data was then run through a bivariate correlation analysis using the software program SPSS Syntax. To answer my second research question, a multiple linear regression analysis was run using the same software program while controlling for cognitive ability. Results revealed 6 ESCS behaviors had significant correlations with ITSE domains. 4 of these behaviors had significant regression results showing that 15 to 20% of the variance within the ESCS behavior was explained by that child's social emotional competence level. When looking at these results, it's important to remember that certain degrees of problem behaviors are expected in typically developing populations. However, high scores in problem behavior domains are related to lower social emotional competence. When controlling for cognitive ability, there was no significant effect on the regression results. This revealed that the variability in preverbal communication may be reflective of a child's social emotional competence. So looking at the results, a child with higher scores in the externalizing domain is less likely to engage in socially motivated eye contact, as they may be more impulsive, active, or aggressive. But they are more likely to engage in self-motivated activities, such as reaching for a desired object. Social interaction behaviors were positively correlated with the competence domain and negatively correlated with the internalizing domain. So infants that scored high in anxiety and withdrawal and inhibition to novelty were less inclined to engage in social interaction with an unfamiliar tester in an unfamiliar environment. However, children with higher competency levels were more frequently initiating or engaging in play with a social partner, as they were able to understand, comply, and pay attention to the social interaction. Further, pointing, which is a higher level joint attention behavior, was also associated with high competence levels. Children who were more frequently using points to draw the tester's attention or were able to follow the tester's point to objects around the room were scoring higher in competence. Overall, the results of this project support that social emotional competence can be recognized and nurtured in children younger than school-aged populations because of the early emergence of preverbal communication and its relationship to social emotional competence. Studying these patterns promises for earlier identification and intervention for problem behaviors and delays, and correcting the maladaptive behaviors as early as they appear. This can prevent symptom onset and improve overall quality of life. Further research on the relationship between social emotional competence and preverbal communication should include a broader, younger range of typically and atypically developing infants. I want to thank Dr. Brenda Sally and Corinne Walker for their incredible help producing this project, and I would like to thank the listeners for tuning in and learning a little bit about infants' preverbal communication and social emotional competence.